Sure, most people have seen Jurassic Park before, but have you ever noticed Dr. Malcolm riding the T-Rex and launching off it like a leapfrog? How about the fact that he kicks a tooth out of the T-Rex mouth on his way up? How about when the raptor blinks, it has this crazy extra eyelid? Horrifying, nictitating membrane. Speaking of blinking, blink and you'll miss this major movie mistake. That's right, they all see it. For one frame, the raptor disappears. Disappearing dinosaurs. They're not going to use that gag until Jurassic World, even if it is in Michael Crichton's Lost World book. Jurassic Park spawned my love of dinosaurs, film, and special effects, and so I'm going to use all my After Effects knowledge to add the raptor back. Pretty lickety-split, actually. I'll just use pieces of the current raptor that exists and cut it out and reconstruct it like a puzzle. So first here I'll select the jaw, just mask around it, freeze frame. Now in order to understand where the jaw ought to be in space in this invisible frame, I'm going to use reference of the frames that actually exist and kind of align it in space across that time. So I'll match position, rotation, and scale and set a keyframe at the beginning, and then set keyframes for at the end, and there you go. That's about the midpoint. And then I'll add a directional blur, and I'll choose the angle blurred right here, and yeah, that's looking all right. I like the streakiness to it, and I feel like the rest of the animation has this sort of line streaks, and so if I can replicate that and really get that in the blur, I think it'll help it blend all together. And that looks all right already. The fact that the Velociraptor is missing, it's insane to even have noticed. Thanks, Reddit. That one frame just of a thing in motion, we've all watched this. We're looking right at it, and then it just disappears. In fact, it just tells you how much you can cheat in filmmaking, and this whole movie is full of a million cheats. For as polished as Jurassic Park is, it really is a smorgasbord of errors. John Hammond's rag turns from white to pink in the direct next shot. The robotic arm holding the egg just disappears in the direct next shot. But these seemingly glaring mistakes don't mar our enjoyment of watching the film, because Steven Spielberg is a master storyteller, and he knows where we ought to be focused. And Michael Kahn is a master editor, and he knows where our attention will be and what flows visually. And we as an audience accept the non-linear, non-temporal freedom that film allows, and little details don't matter as long as we have enough visual and audible clues to guide us through the story. That's the most important thing, not the fact that the bag of money suddenly disappears out from under Nedry's arm.
You got so that nobody cares.
Now I'm going to take this next frame. I like this part of the head. I'm going to grab this. It looks, I believe the lighting would be similar to this, and without fabricating something totally new, I'm going to just snag this frame. Again, it's going to be in motion, so like whatever. So I just freeze framed it and move over to this one frame and press Y to highlight the anchor point and move that. Now I can rotate from that spot. So now I'll use my existing animation as my reference for where in space that ought to be. So I'll go to the last keyframe and the first keyframe and make sure that that kind of goes along. I see now that's kind of like not the correct angle. Thinking machines and supercomputers. Okay. Resize it a little, but since I want to kind of fake an angle that doesn't really exist, and I'm going to just throw the whole thing into a blur anyway. So again, it's all cheating. Like whatever. Tricks the eye into thinking it's there, and you did it. So use Control-Shift-D to make a splice. Delete that whole second chunk of there, chunk of the frame that I don't need. I just want it for this one specific frame to keep it kind of not messy. Otherwise, I would have to turn off the opacity or something. Whatever. So set this. Okay, it's funny. Every step closer just looks that much better, considering that it already was almost invisible to the eye. Any other additional add is pretty convincing. So now I'm just scrubbing back and forth. It's the importance of looking over things again and again. Stop motion animators do this, regular animators do this, editors do this. You just gotta watch that thing 100 billion trillion times, and at a certain point, it stops looking like anything. So when you're convinced by it, then you know you've done something good. When you believe it. All right, so this is a good frame of the body. I'll just mask around that pretty loosely. You know, it's not matching. There's a pretty serious light change on the thing. So I'm just gonna add the curves and see if I can adjust that to make it seem more convincing as an in-between frame. Okay, yeah, all right. So it's getting dark, and then it gets dark. Watch it back and forth, and I'm already convinced that it's been part of the movie forever. So effects are exactly that. You know, they're tricks, visual effects. Visual effects are different than practical effects because it's all just dealing with visuals, you know? It's just pictures, and so anything you want to change is just picture manipulation, digital picture manipulation at this point. So, pretty cool. All right, so now I'm going to grab the back of the body here. Make sure I trace around that specific shape, that sickle claw toe. It's key to the shape of that raptor's body right there. All right, close it off. Make that mask a little bit bigger. Okay. So now the old before and after position. We'll hotkey Y to move our anchor point. Set our rotation and position. I think we're going to have to extend this out so we know where it is beforehand, just to help us out with position. And a hotkey V just to select the pointer so you don't move around the anchor point. All right, so that's looking all right. Forward. Move those, go to the middle frame. And, yeah, chop that right there. Chop that layer. So now let me add some motion blur on there because it's in motion and it helps sell the gag. Why not? It's working all right, but that edge is just so awful. So I'll take care of this. All right, so I'll put a directional blur on there, and it's not really doing the thing I want it to. So let me feather the mask out as well. You know what? Let me just hide that mask. Okay, great. Yeah, you know what? That looks good. Sometimes when you got that mask on, you know, just visualized, it just clutters up what you're actually looking at. So I just turn it invisible, and now adjusting by blur. So let's get the right angle, though, for that direction it's getting pulled. All right, great. So now we got a freaking raptor built inside the T-Rex, and that's pretty good. But the problem is we got now the raptor going over the top of the T-Rex mouth. It all happens so quick, but come on. I want to do a professional job. I'm not ILM, you know, just leaving big gaps in my animation. So I'm going to come in here. So I'm going to use the actual T-Rex head from the frame. I'm going to use it where it's missing. And it's a little blurred, so that will be fine. It's going to do exactly the thing. So I can be kind of rough with this mask. General shape. Now I'm making that so tall because I kind of want him biting around the body, but I want the body to kind of sit up in there on the outside. He's got two parts of the body, right? Because now I can put elements of the raptor behind and in front and really layer it in there. Oosh. Now I gotta rename these. Like, I was sloppy. I was trying to do it quick, but you really have to name your layers if you want to be able to navigate your project. So, all All right, now this all makes much more sense. The jaw, which is in front of the body, which is in front over top of the T-Rex face. And now just blend. Let's see when we turn that mask off. What we're doing when we blend. Okay, that's looking nice. Just expand the edge there and feather it out. Okay. Looking great. Yep. Kind of seems like you get a little light on the T-Rex teeth, but it's also kind of blurring, so it works all right. So right here is it's kind of like a flash frame because the raptor disappears, and that's a shadow that disappears off the T-Rex's chin. So let's add that shadow back. So all right, it's on the T-Rex jaw. Right there we see on the next frame. So let's just pare that all down, one frame for neatness. It'll be useful just to really regulate everything this one frame. So I want to set my T-Rex face alpha matte to it so that it only affects my T-Rex face layer, this adjustment layer. Oh, I gotta turn that down. And I'll make its curves, and I'll just crush that a little bit. It's not quite right. I want to bring down the highlights because it's shadow, and then compressed and contrast. Yeah, I think I'll keep bringing down this takes a little bit of futzing with. So I'll bring down the shadows up and bring the highlights down. No, reset that. All right, I'm gonna compress, and then I'm gonna bring the highlights down. Yeah, looks good. That's great. In fact, it's only for a small part of the chin, so it's going to be great. And because of that, now that it's masked over our whole T-Rex head. Oops, I put that on the wrong layer. All right, so copy paste that over to the adjustment layer. Now I'll make a mask on the adjustment layer, even though it's using the matte from the alpha matte from the T-Rex head layer. And then we'll feather it out a little bit. You know, they say dinosaurs had feathers, but not really much in the Jurassic Park universe. Oh, in the Jurassic World universe. But, oh, and Jurassic Park 3, actually. They had raptors with feathers on their head. Anyway.
Alan.
Pretty good. You know, it's pretty good, but actually there's something. Let's grab this arm. Maybe that's it. Maybe it looks like there's a little bit of his arm. We'll just grab that. Again, it doesn't have to be a perfect mask. We're just gonna loosely mask around it. Rough shape. I mean, pretty decent, but it's gonna be in blur. So great. Now freeze frame that. Delete that off. Now here we go. All right, I'm not even gonna bother with the anchor point. It's just this thing's so quick. And man, that arm really just completely disappears even on the frames that do exist. So it's completely hidden in shadow. And so wherever I put it really is fine. I'll set it over top of the body. And all right, great. Now let's adjust some curves and make the whole thing really dark. Can't see anything. So yeah, now we'll add a fast blur. Yeah, who cares? Fast box is great. We'll just set it to the horizontal, and we'll do that. Nice. There you go. And just some of that. Just some curves. All right, great. In the shadow, and let's change the masking a little bit because we want to get a little bit of light coming out from underneath the raptor against his chin as our shadow kind of spills across his chin. So there we go. Oh, not to mention, look at that raptor clipping through the T-Rex's face. You could say he's chomping all the way through his back, but the raptor's really just sticking to the roof of his mouth like a dog with a peanut butter cracker. Ooh, he is in pain. Apparently T-Rex has got a bite force of 7,800 pounds, which is equivalent to being crushed under the weight of 3 cars with every bite. You probably could have just crushed right through it. It might have been a little bit too brutal, though. Time to match the grain. It's one frame, but whatever. I want it to read. I want if you to be scrubbing through this, you wouldn't even notice. You'd have a hard time figuring out which frame I even added. So we're gonna add a little bit of grain. Bring that down, 0.2. It's funny, I use add grain a lot to add it back, but the defaults are just so extreme. And the intensity of 1 is outrageous. It's just so noisy. You really got to be playing in the points, which is kind of funny. Yeah, it's pretty interesting, the fact that this is missing and that they still went ahead with it. It just must have been taking so much processing power back in the day to render these images out. You know, it was the first time they were doing stuff like this, fully fleshed animals. Yeah, it just must have been so massive. They were like, yeah, you know what? We're not going to go back and make the 1 frame again. No one's going to even notice. But guess what? We noticed. I mean, they went in and removed the wires from the Dilophosaurus. They went in and removed the potted plant from the T-Rex escape, but they never touched this. Alright, really futz with this grain way too long. Let's add it to all of them. Copy and paste that. Paste onto the arm. And now you made a dinosaur. This is for you, people. I do this for you. Maybe myself a little bit. Enjoy.
Well, there it is.
Okay, and now let's watch it side by side. Oh, wow. So much better. All right, was this a total waste of time, or was it really justified? You let me know in the comments if you like this or not. I was so preoccupied with if I could, I didn't stop to think if I should. Is it an improvement? Was this necessary? Let me know what you think in the comments.